Well, ladies and gentlemen, this just came over my feed this morning, and this comes from Pam Jones for Liberty. That's where I got the link, and I'll leave that link in the description as well. This article from the BBC News, and I take BBC with 10 grains of salt, based on their coverage of 9/11, the report of the building that fell 25 minutes before it fell, but be that as it may. Here's the article from the BBC News. Gunman attacks family of U.S. federal judge Esther Salas. Now, this judge was assigned to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Need I say more? I think you know where I'm going with this. The son of a U.S. federal judge has been shot dead and her husband injured in an attack at their family home in New Jersey. Investigators said the judge, Esther Salas, was unharmed. According to reports, the attacker was dressed as a FedEx delivery driver and is still at large. The motive for the attack is unclear. A local mayor and family friend said Judge Salas had received threats in the past. The FBI says it's investigating and has appealed for information. Sources quoted by U.S. media said Judge Salas' 20-year-old son Daniel Adderall, a student, opened the door at the family home in North Brunswick at about 1700 on Sunday and was fatally shot. The judge's husband, Mark Adderall, 63, was then shot several times. He is in critical but stable condition in a hospital, the New Jersey Globe reported. North Brunswick Mayor Frances Womack told ABC News that as a judge, she had threats from time to time, but everyone is saying that recently there had not been any. Investigators say prior threats made to the judge were a line of inquiry, but authorities were also considering whether the husband's work as a criminal defense lawyer could be a motive. In a statement, the FBI said it was looking for one suspect and asked anyone who thought they might have relevant information to call them. We are working closely with our state and local partners and will provide additional updates when available, it added. The New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez said he hoped that those responsible for this horrendous act are swiftly apprehended and brought to justice. I know Judge Salas and her husband well, and was proud to recommend her to President Obama for nomination to New Jersey's federal bench, he said. My prayers are with Judge Salas and her family. Judge Salas serves on a federal bench in New Jersey, the first Hispanic woman to do so, ABC News reported. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you really don't need too many articles like this one to know what the story is. Anybody who is connected with Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell who can be gotten to are going to be gotten to. That's my theory, but I've done this long enough and I've observed these things long enough where I know the outcome without it being glaringly obvious. Ghislaine Maxwell is entitled to a speedy trial. Once she has pled not guilty, there are two options. You either plead guilty to a lesser charge and get a lesser sentence, or you plead not guilty and go to trial. Once you plead not guilty and you have an indication that you are going to trial, your lawyer files for discovery and the exchange of information is made, and the court has 6 months, not a year, to get you to trial. Why a year? Why next July? First of all, they don't want this coming out before the election. And second of all, and probably co-equal with that reason, is they know they can't pull another Jeffrey Epstein bullshit story. So they gotta find another way to whack her, whether she dies of natural causes, quote unquote, or she gets stabbed in a shower by another inmate, Something has to happen to keep her from spilling the beans, whatever beans there are to spill. And rumor has it, and I think it's a safe speculation, that she, like the Peter Tweeter, has an insurance file because they knew who they were dealing with. They knew they were dealing with the Clinton Arkanside machine. That if something went awry somewhere, that they would end up as one of the numerous body counts that have piled up around the Hildebeest and exponentially growing set of circumstances, the odds of which all these people dying around Hillary Clinton is thousands and thousands and thousands of orders of magnitudes more than all of the atoms in the known universe. I had to go get a special calculator that did 100 zeros after the decimal point in order to figure the odds, because after I got to number 60 or so, it started going, my regular calculator started going into scientific notation. If you or I had 3 mysterious deaths around us, the cops would be asking questions. But Hillary Clinton has mysterious deaths around her going back to Vincent Foster and even before. Nobody seems to ask the question. Nobody seems to be willing to calculate the odds of this happening. There is no such thing as coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. These people are evil, and they will do anything in order not to be found out, in order not to be exposed. And up until this point, it was a cakewalk for them because they had the media in their back pocket, and they still have the media in their back pocket. But when the Hildebeest, aka the oven mitt fashionista, or who I call the Kevlar cunt, see, John Gotti was the Teflon Don. Hillary Clinton is the Kevlar cunt. And nothing seems to be able to touch her. So she threatens you. She puts you in prison. She'll make false allegations. Oh, she won't do it herself. She'll have somebody else do it because money talks and bullshit walks. And she's another one of the puppets going up the line. And I think that's why it's taken so long to rout all this shit out. Because it's been going on for so long under the public's nose with the mainstream media's full complicity that it has gotten so out of hand that it is incomprehensible and unbelievable to a normal person who has a normal functioning brain. But in order to comprehend what is going on, ladies and gentlemen, you need to step outside the box. You need to allow for the possibility that the impossible happens. The absolutely egregious and disgusting and foul and dastardly evil things that you would never think of actually do happen. 800,000 children in the United States go missing every year. About 40% of them are recovered, but that leaves 60% who are never found again. And what does the mainstream media talk about? They talk about Russia collusion and bullshit stories after bullshit stories after bullshit stories, and damn near bankrupting the country with this virus bullshit, and saying, wear a mask. Masks don't do shit. Got it? They don't do shit but make you sick. They make you choke on your own puke. That's what masks do. And the only reason that surgeons wear masks when they're in surgery is to keep from contaminating the patient. The masks you buy in stores or online, for the most part, do absolutely nothing. Nothing. And it's a hoax anyway. But getting back to all of this, I believe that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead. He did not kill himself. There is absolutely no way that you could hang yourself in a special housing unit. The camera's on, the camera's off, the guards not making their rounds, whatever you want to believe. There is absolutely no way. And the big kicker of the whole thing is when the medical examiner got up there on the news and they showed a picture of a bunk bed in a special housing unit. There are no bunk beds in special housing units in any prison in the United States. None. Okay? So you cannot hang yourself from a non-existent bunk bed. The only thing you get in a special housing unit is a slab of concrete that sticks out from the wall, and you get either a paper gown in the summer or one of these big fat quilted muumuu outfits made out of, look like 5 or 6 moving blankets stitched together that you cannot tie in a knot even if you tried. So the mainstream media and the news and all of these so-called experts may be able to blow smoke up the public's ass, but they're not fooling me. They're not fooling me, and hopefully they're not fooling you. Jizz-Lane Maxwell will not make it to next July. Trust me on this one. If Las Vegas were to make book on this, bet against her making it to trial. Bet against it. Because it is an absolute certainty. There is too much money and there's too many reputations laying in wait to be destroyed if this woman ever makes it in front of a bench and spills the beans, which she probably did already. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to let her sit in a cell and wait till July to talk. Somebody's talking to her. Somebody's making deals with her. And it turns out that Jeffrey Epstein might not have been the driving force. They say now it's Jizz-Lane Maxwell that was the driving force, and Epstein was just a conduit or a puppet or a useful tool because he had these proclivities that he also could be blackmailed. And anyone who is speaking against Donald Trump has something to hide. Anyone at this point who berates the president after all he's done in faced with all of this opposition, he deserves an extra term just for all of these assholes wasting his time. But be that as it may, anybody looking at his track record and berating the president, hey, if you don't like his personality, that's tough shit. That is just tough shit. But look at what he's done for the country. And if you're against that, you're an enemy of the United States of America. You're a traitor. You're a seditionist. And as far as I'm concerned, you're a non-uniformed enemy combatant. Because these people will not stop until their new world order has its foot firmly on your neck. And I will not live as a slave. I'm too old to run and I'm too young to die, so I've got one choice. I'm going to fight. And if it comes down to I got to fight a war, a real war with bombs and bullets, so be it. I took the oath. I meant it when I took it, and I meant it when I say it again. I will not live as a fucking slave to these fucking bastards. They can kiss my ass. And let me tell you something else. There's a lot of people who have the exact same feeling I do, but will not say it. For fear of being ridiculed, I don't care. For fear of being censored, I don't care. When you stop me from talking altogether, either I'm dead or I'm coming for you. And I'll take you out, one way or another. Preferably legally. But I'm not averse to any other method, because I took the oath to defend my country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if that means taking out a non-uniformed enemy combatant, so be it. So be it. And as the title of this video implied, what would be the reason for the deep state to want this judge dead? Obviously they were after the judge, but her son and her husband probably served just as well as a warning to back the fuck off Jizz-Lane Maxwell and back the fuck off all of this child trafficking shit, because child trafficking is a multi-billion dollar operation worldwide that these people are up to their assholes in. They are up to their assholes in child trafficking. Drugs are the second most profitable business on the planet, bigger than many Fortune 500 companies. But child trafficking has it beat by a long shot. You see, you can only sell drugs once. Then you gotta go get more. You gotta get some more. You gotta go smuggle some more in from the border or wherever the hell you got it from. That's where we're over in Afghanistan for 20 fucking years, because that's where the poppy fields are. I guarantee you, if the main product of Afghanistan was broccoli, we'd never be anywhere near that fucking place. But drugs and undocumented children like the ones in Haiti, and if black lives really matter, why isn't anybody talking about the Haitians, the poor Haitian people who have still not recovered from the 2011 earthquake? The funds being ripped out from being collected, first of all, being collected by the Clinton Foundation, but never, not a penny, went to help those poor people down in Haiti. If justice was really to be served, poetic justice was really, really in God's wisdom to be served, they would take Hillary Clinton, put her on a Learjet, and land her in Port-au-Prince on the tarmac and leave her there. That would be the best justice for her that I could possibly think of. That would be the best justice. All of this rioting and all of this mainstream media cover-up bullshit stories, one after the other, is all a distraction to keep the public from learning the truth about satanic ritual abuse, sacrificing children to Molech like they've been doing for 3,000 years, since Abram walked out of Ur of the Chaldees back in biblical times. It's been going on since then, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not. But your failure to believe it doesn't change the facts. Your failure to believe it only exacerbates the problem and allows it to continue. And when it's exposed, like the people in Auschwitz and Buchenwald and all the German towns and all the Polish towns where they had Nazi concentration camps, where the people were smelling burning bodies every day, but didn't make the connection, supposedly, that they were cremating people and burning them alive sometimes. Didn't make the connection. And when the Allied forces freed those survivors, they took the residents of those towns and forced them at gunpoint to go and look at the piled up dead bodies and bones and ovens and shit. And they couldn't believe it. And some of them broke down in tears. And probably their tears were, how could I be so fucking stupid to see this and not know what it was? We've been telling you this for years, ladies and gentlemen. This is not some fairy tale that somebody made up. This is not some psyop that the right is doing against the left. This is empirical fact, admitted in their own emails that they never denied writing those emails. Hillary Clinton wrote 650,000 emails. Do the math. One email equals 1 minute. That's 4.9 man-years working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year without sleep. That's some demon shit. And she erased 35,000 of them while they were under subpoena, saying, no, they were just wedding invitations and yoga lessons. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's all going to come out because those emails are on the Peter Tweeter's computer. They were copied onto the Peter Tweeter's computer under the insurance file that the New York Police Department has been sitting on for goddamn near 4 years. Why are they sitting on these emails? Why is not the Hildebeest under Leavenworth? Your guess is as good as mine, ladies and gentlemen. But I think we both know the reason why. And another bomb that's waiting to go off is Benghazi. Nobody talks about Benghazi anymore, but I did an expose on Benghazi from an article in a local Jersey newspaper, and I'll leave a link to that article in the description, where he alleges that Ambassador Stevens was the go-between between the Obama administration and terrorists in the Middle East being sold Stinger missiles that came out of an inventory that belonged to the CIA. And when one of those missiles was fired at a helicopter, a U.S. helicopter, the idiot who'd fired it didn't know how to arm it, so it hit the plane crashed, and when the teams went in to recover the wreckage, they found the serial number of this weapon that was in CIA inventory. And the cover-up, the destruction of the embassy in Benghazi, and the killing of the 4 Americans who were there, including Ambassador Stevens, was a cover-up for an arms deal of the Obama administration literally selling weapons to the enemy. that's going to come out too. So there is nowhere to hide, and they can't scrub it off the internet because there are more venues than Carter's got liver pills. So it's going to come out. Oh yeah, they might limit who hears the message, but it's up to you who hear this message to spread the truth and to get into a discussion with people who are amenable to the truth. Because people who are on the left, they believe that Hillary Clinton is God's gift to man, and when by some demonic force she ever gets elected president or ever steps foot into the White House again, they're gonna fucking get the government that they deserve. And they're gonna find out that they supported their worst enemy. And just before I go, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to throw this in just for good measure. I want to talk a little bit about believability. A lot of people, including myself, have fallen victim to the mainstream media over the many decades since John F. Kennedy was assassinated. We believed what they said because the internal but never articulated question was, why would they lie? Well, the answer to why they would lie, I think, is obvious. Into what thing that all the mainstream media has in common, what thing do all of these reporters and editors of these major newspapers and media outlets have in common that could hold them all hostage to a narrative that is not only not true, but is patently absurd? And I think that question answers itself with the people who hung around Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the royals. The royal family have been pedivores for many, many years. They're really Germans. They changed their names about 100 years ago to seem British. And the crown has been recently been challenged. And the Queen of England, that all the, well, I wouldn't say all, most of the Brits have looked up to and fawned over, and oh, the royal wedding and all the royal this and all the royal that. Question, who the fuck is the Queen? Who the fuck is she? That she gets all this money. She owns a third of the goddamn planet. Who is she? She ain't no better than you or me. She puts her underwear on same as I do, same as you do. Who the hell is she? And all this fascination with all this bullshit has inflicted this thing upon the human race that they admire a person because of some lineage or some shit. That's exactly what the Nazis' philosophy was. We are the master race. And we never won. If we won World War II, that's a mystery to me. Oh yeah, we won the battles. We kicked the shit out of them. We threw bombs on them. They signed it. They signed it, the unconditional surrender. But we brought the worst of the motherfuckers over here to work on rockets under Operation Paperclip and who knows what else. Hitler fled in a submarine and ended up in Austria and lived his life to a ripe old age in a town that was owned by Nazi sympathizers. That's a fact. And George Soros, how does he escape the Nazi hunters? The same people who found some guy living out in Long Island a while back, it had to be like 15, 20 years ago, that was part of the death camps, and people recognized him. And they went and took him out and tried him for war crimes. How did George Soros, who's living out in the middle of, everybody knows where he lives, how does he escape this type of scrutiny? How? Tell me how. Because people who are behind this thing that's happening in this country today are not our friends and are pretending to be our friends. The mainstream media, especially the New York Times, and CNN, whatever they say is the polar opposite of the truth. They got nothing right. Nothing. They are co-conspirators in the maintenance. Now, listen very carefully. The maintenance of the coup d'etat that failed in 1933, that was foiled by a man nobody ever heard of, and at least I never heard of him until about 14 years ago when I met my friend Art Bernklau, by the name of General Smedley Butler. And it's all outlined in a book that fell out of print because nobody reads anymore anyway. It's called A Plot to Seize the White House by author Jules Archer. That plot failed in 1933. Corporate America tried to take over the United States government, and they were plotting to kill Teddy Roosevelt. 30 years later, a duly elected Democrat president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated in broad daylight in front of God and everybody, and the mainstream media did their best to pin this whole bullshit story on a guy shooting with a $22 Sears rifle, Italian military surplus piece of shit with a misaligned scope that if you clamped it in a vise at point blank range couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And then you had Arlen Specter, the late Arlen Specter, whom my friend Art Bernklau, for over 2 years, sent him boxes of dog shit. Every Friday, he would collect his dog turds out in the yard. He'd put them in a box. He'd go down to UPS and send it to him with his business card poked into him. Arlen Specter, with this magic bullet bullshit, and nobody with any forensic knowledge at all made it to the media to challenge this crazy, insane, absurd theory that a bullet could cause so many wounds and then drop out on a gurney in a hospital where it was found by an orderly in almost pristine condition. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose to you that if sparrows had banjos in their asses, there would be music in the air. And this is what's happening with all the narrative that's happening today. And I don't know why Trump isn't calling it out. Perhaps he is letting it go to show us, or to show the people who have not yet woken up out of their matrix-induced nightmare that they call the American dream. Maybe it's to show those idiots who unfortunately have the ability to vote like normal, intelligent, rational people, to show them what the deep state is all about. And believe me, I've long given up on trying to red pill these people because there is no cure for stupid. Stupidity is the pursuit of ignorance. If you're ignorant, and everybody's ignorant on one subject or another, on one topic or another, that's fine. That's normal. That's part of growing up and growing old and getting wiser as you grow and take in the facts. But when you're ignorant, you can be educated. You can be informed. But if you refuse to be educated and you refuse to be informed, you are pursuing your own ignorance, and therefore it is the classical definition of stupid. Stupidity is the pursuit of ignorance. And people who are not red-pilled at this point in time will never, ever wake up. They will die in their stupidity. And if enough of them cheat in the next election, they will get the government they deserve, and they'll drag us down the rabbit hole with them, unfortunately. And if we ever want to get out of that rabbit hole after that, we are all going to have to pick up a weapon and do patriot shit. Real patriot shit. The kind of patriot shit that happened in 1776, with people loading muzzle loaders and flintlocks in the fucking rain. That kind of patriot shit. Because short of that, the technology exists to enslave every human being on the planet. You see, during Nazi Germany, if you had somebody who could forge a document, somebody who did, forgeries real good, and you can pay him a couple of dollars, you could get by when the guard asks you, "Your papers, please." But now there is no papers. There's electronic verification, there's face recognition, there's fingerprints in a database. There's all types of shit that is inescapable. You can't forge face recognition. You can't forge a fingerprint. This is what these people want to impose, not only on the United States, but on the planet. And if they ever get that far, ladies and gentlemen, if they ever get that far, humanity will never, ever be free again. And just as patriots have died for their freedom and put their lives on the line for their freedom, these criminals would do anything to escape prosecution for the crimes they've committed for the last at least 100, maybe 150 years. They have nothing to lose. The crimes they've already committed carry the death penalty. So they figure if they can cover up those crimes by committing more crimes, why not? Why not? They have nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. Just like a lifer in prison, without the possibility of parole, will never see the light of day again. Has no hesitation to stab somebody in the shower to make himself the badass of the jailhouse. Because what are they going to do with him? Put him in jail? Especially in states that don't have the death penalty. The worst they can do to him is sentence him to another couple of life sentences to run consecutively to the one he's got. And in that process, he'll be taken out to court numerous times for bus rides out in the fresh air, out of his cell, in different environments. To him, it's the best vacation that he could ever dream about, because he will die behind bars. And that's what these people are looking at. They're looking at being executed by firing squad, or by lethal injection, or by hanging, for treason, for crimes against humanity, for untold billions and trillions of dollars stolen over the years, for the destruction of millions of lives. These are what these people are facing, and they know it. And now that the cat is out of the bag, now that the lid has been busted off of Pandora's box, they're desperately trying to put the genie back in the bottle, but it's not going to work. Because the more they censor us, the more they take us offline, the more they delete channels, and the more they try to suppress this information, the people that know it's out there, they are going to be doubly, triply, and quadruply motivated to find that information. And when they find it, they're going to know that information is true, because if it wasn't, why would the deep state try to hide it? If it's not true, it's easily debunked. If it's not a fact, the truth will definitely come out in the end. But if it is a fact, the same thing applies. Any attempt to debunk it will fail. And let me tell you something else, ladies and gentlemen. This tape, these videos that Hillary and Obama are trying to get ahead of by saying it's deep fakes, there's deep fakes, and they can fake the videos, they can fake this and fake that. I have a personal friend who's been in the New York Police Department for many, many years. I know him from servicing computers up at One Police Plaza. And he is one of the remaining 4 or 5 people that saw the Huma and Hillary child torture tape called Frazzle Drip. And he assured me that that tape does exist. And I know for a fact it exists from other sources who I've spoken to that shall not be named. Because anybody who gets into that little swirl of facts usually ends up dead. And unfortunately, I was put into that mix on November 15th, 2016, when I got an anonymous letter in the mail. And it wasn't mailed, it was put in my mailbox. And ever since then, I've been a target. I've been a target for many years before that, because I ran into the non-existent abandoned farmhouse. And these people know who I'm talking about. They might not call it what I call it, but I call it, for lack of a better term or lack of a better scenario, a non-existent abandoned farmhouse that was used against me because I ran into something that I shouldn't have ran into. And they don't know what I know, but I know what I know. And every day that goes by, I know it even better, and I know it even more completely. The time will come. The time will come. But New York, the judicial system in New York is a cesspool. A fucking cesspool. Judges have retired on lies and fabrications and on money they've stolen by putting innocent people in jail, by farming out children through child protective services. And I'll leave that link in the description too, where myself and Will Kanishi talk at length and talk to some of the victims of this stuff. This is not something that's a fantasy. This is not something that I'm telling you just for shits and giggles. I don't make any money doing this shit. I'm trying to save my country. And the only way I can save my country, short of winning the Mega Millions lottery and hiring my own army to go and take these motherfuckers out at gunpoint, the only thing I can do is speak the truth, and that's what I'm doing. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Look at my other channels. Subscribe to my other channels, because you never know when they're going to make this one or the other one disappear. So they're playing whack-a-mole, but I got more moles than they ain't got wax. This is Dave from Net4 Truth USA, Inglorious Patriots. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your calls of encouragement and most of all, thank you for your support. Please subscribe to our backup channels on YouTube: Inglorious Patriots, Net4 Truth USA 2 Patriot Channel, and Ethernet Warriors. You can also catch us on bitshoot.com/Net4TruthUSA, remonetized.org/user/Inglorious-Patriots9, and drop.space/@Net4TruthUSA. All the links are in the description. We fly so close to the target, we are on our 5th fighter jet. We will be relentless and persistent until the enemies of freedom are defeated. You can support this channel by using the links in the description, but for a $100 donation, I will personally send you a autographed hardcover special edition copy of Land of Childhood's Fears. Also, visit my bookstore at lulu.com/Net4TruthUSA. If you are viewing this video on BitChute, you can use the links in the description to support us, or simply click the green $ dot on our video to support this channel. Thank you. Links are in the description section.